I know that we did this year. Oh, Board Member Jaffa.
Yeah, I guess I'm on. We had a letter laydown from a tug and barge company today that I don't have any way of determining or deciding how accurate that was. I assume it was relatively accurate. It's not something that's new. It's come up before, and I think it's going to take a lot of thought on the city's part about how these things are applied and whether they're going to discourage activity or extract from an activity a suitable return. When we had the oil rig in here, there was they came over here because it was cheaper to be here than in Homer. So it's going to go back and forth a little bit, but I definitely think that's something that we need to focus on this year because revenues are going to be strained. Obviously, our tax base is going to be diminished by the current economic activity, and we're going to probably have to scale back in some areas. But that doesn't mean giving up the baby. If a business is any business has expenses, and if they're expecting a freebie from the city or a give back from the city, there ought to be something. YouTube is live. Thank you. What's that mean?
I was just updating. Sorry.
Am I on YouTube? Hi, Mom, Dad.
Sorry for the distraction.
I think it's something that the city really needs to spend some time with, and PACAB is that point. And we deal with the small boat harbor, and I expect JAG to have something to do with it, something to say about it. Kenneth Fjords would have something to say about it, and everybody else, Major Marine, anybody else that's using that facility is going to have something to say about it. And we may somehow have to be creative with our meetings because these Zoom meetings are difficult for public input. Having a meeting with 20, 30 people show up that say we don't want more taxes, it's not quite the same as this sort of thing. So I think it's going to be a real challenge, one that's probably going to lead the charge for the year.
Yeah, so I think if I can read through your recommendation there, is then to leave it as is, and we take this up again this year. Is that correct, Bruce?
Say it again, please, Laura.
Oh, I was just saying. So your recommendation is then to leave this goal as is, and that we take this up again in 2021 and do an additional review of the property tax. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's stated well. I just somehow think it's in the proper place, leading the list.
Perfect. And I think it's also appropriate to leave it on here in my report to council. It was specifically requested from the mayor to leave this on our agenda and to revisit it in 2021. So I think this is I think that I'm really, really grateful for where we got to with it this year. I think we have more information than we've ever had before as far as what the impact would be on the general fund. And I think that now knowing that number, we can do that cost-benefit analysis with more, in a more clear-eyed way, knowing what it means as a loss in revenue in one way and how maybe losing those ships could mean a loss of revenue in another way, and what's best for the city of Seward. Not just for the business owners and for individuals, but what's best for the city, because that is, the city's best interests are what we have to keep in mind as well. So I think I'm happy with leaving it as is. Does anyone else have any comments or recommendations? Okay, item 2, sponsor an energy workshop for the community. Again, great work being done on this so far. Board Member Smith.
Yeah, my favorite one here. So I recommend striking that language entirely and replacing it with promote energy education, comma, and communication. I guess no comma there, but energy education and communication between the city and its residents. work on promoting surveys, information dissemination, outreach, and if you want to put workshop on the end of that, maybe there too. But I don't like, it just doesn't seem like PACAB has the resources to sponsor an energy workshop. But I do think that our work between the utility and administration and finance has, just what we've learned in the last couple months here, we really need to promote tightening that connection between the city and its residents. So that's my suggestion. Thank you.
If I, Madam Clerk.
I was just going to ask Member Smith if you could just restate that again for me so I can catch it all.
Okay, I'll read it.
Promote energy.
So promote energy education and communication between the city and its residents, period. Promote public surveys, information dissemination, and outreach programs. And if we want to add workshops on there, I guess we could add it on the end, but I maybe just leave it at outreach, and that could include a workshop.
I think I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really like that. I think it both broadens the scope and brings it more in line with what we've learned this year on what's feasible for us to accomplish. I think that's a great edit. If I could maybe suggest that we leave it at the first sentence so that it's even more open-ended, that we're promoting energy education and communication between the city and its residents, because all of the examples that you give fall under education and communication, and that just makes it kind of a more concise bullet point. But if you feel strongly about including those specific examples, I'm also fine with that. It's just a suggestion.
Short is effective, so yeah, I'm happy with the first sentence. Thank you.
So, Madam Clerk, just so promote energy education and communication between the city and its residents, full stop.
Copy.
Anyone else have discussion on, Board Member Lawrence.
I don't have discussion. I need to step out for maybe 5 minutes. I'm having an electrical issue at my office.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I'll be back.
thank you. And we do still have a quorum. Sorry, I know, Madam Clerk, that's your job. I'm just noting to myself.
We do still have a quorum.
4 of us. Thank you. Okay, so next item, evaluate options for a heat pump rebate program and present a proposal to council. I think that, and I can speak to this, I dropped the ball. I was supposed to write a letter and put it in our meeting agenda for this month, and I did not do it, and I still need to. That was what the board's direction was for me to write a letter referencing the resolution that we already passed recommending looking into the heat pump program, and giving that to council and putting it in council's hands, since we can't actually do anything as far as expending funds. So that is still on my to-do list, and I will get that done for one of council's. I will make sure that goes on our January agenda. Madam Clerk, if you could help me by making a note to put that as a January agenda item, to approve the chair's letter to council regarding the heat pump rebate program, and that will give me one last reminder again to make sure to get that to you, and we'll make sure that the board's thoughts are all going forward in the way that everyone wants that to be presented to council. So I guess my question is, after I finish my job there, does the board see value in leaving this on the agenda or in rewording it in some way to follow up with it, or how would you like to keep this as a goal? One suggestion I could make is we could put it under a long-term goal to follow up or to track the progress of heat pump rebate program or something like that. But we can also have a specific short-term goal, which would come up on an agenda maybe later in the year to look at it. So what are we thinking there? Board Member Spence.
So you said thought just popped in my mind when you said track the progress. So the heat pump rebate program, I think we've done what we can basically on that. I don't think that should remain on the goals list. However, if we could we make something like track progress of energy related energy related rebate or I'm trying to include net metering in this.
Right.
If we could just have one thing there where we're kind of making sure that the city is following through with any rebate programs, any energy efficiency programs, any net metering programs, just kind of lump that all into one line. I think our board serves that purpose well.
I'm trying to think how exactly to word that, because I think that's a great suggestion to have kind of a catch-all for both the interconnect policy and for the heat pump rebate program and for all of these other initiatives we worked so hard on this year, just having a line item in there for us to get progress reports and to track that through the years. So I'm just trying to think of a way to word it so that that comes across to people who might not know what those specifics are. Maybe it's better to actually be specific and just list those two items: track progress of interconnect policy and heat pump rebate program. What do you think of that?
Let's see. Yes, there's a few other things that I would like to see included in that, but
Okay.
we don't. It seems like our priorities list is kind of aligning. We have a energy efficiency, renewables side of things, and then we have kind of like the fisheries side of things, I guess, and then the shipyard side of things. These are kind of paths that I'm seeing form in our priorities list here. But yeah, if you wanted to just leave it at that for now, I think that plants the seed.
Yeah, and just so I want you to understand, so my thinking on this is one of the ways in which this list was really useful this year is things from our short-term goals went directly into the calendar as discussion items. And so the more specific they are, the better we know how to prepare for those discussions. So if we make that too broad, what you were saying, I feel would belong more in the priorities section, like where that's kind of an overarching thing that we're doing. We're tracking the progress of all these energy-related projects for the electric department. Whereas in our short-term goals, we're looking at specific things that we can do and we can address on a case-by-case basis. But I love that you have ideas for additional things, and I want to leave it open for us to have that discussion. So maybe we do need to have a discussion item that's more like discuss we can leave it as track energy-related projects for the city of Seward, and that does leave us open to then have stuff in there about the heat pump rebate, to talk about the interconnect policy, to talk about any of these additional ideas that you have, and that would be okay to leave it broad in that sense. Is that more what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think that'd be great if it's just a constant reminder for us to ask how we're doing. That makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you.
Yeah. So how do you track progress of energy-related projects in the city utilities department? Or in
it might be too
city
specific.
Electric or do we just say track progress of energy-related projects?
Projects and proposals?
Projects and proposals. Yeah, because that leaves the district heat loop, which is still kind of hanging out there, and all of that in there as well.
I would like updates on all of that, honestly. The hydro stuff, just to keep it on the table and in the realm of discussion. So, if that would be...
Oh, sorry. I apologize. No, board member says, I'm really sorry. I had a delay. I thought my apologies. Did you want to finish?
She's speaking to you, Ben.
Okay.
Oh, no, thank you.
No, okay, all right, sorry about that, thank you. Board Member Paquette.
So track and evaluate the efficacy of the interconnect, heat pump rebate, and other energy-related projects and proposals.
Yeah, I like that. Madam Clerk, did you catch that wording?
I did not.
I can do it again.
Yes, please.
Track and evaluate the efficacy of the interconnect, heat pump rebate, and other energy-related projects and proposals.
I think that ticks a lot of boxes. Ben, how do you feel about that?
Sounds great, thank you, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. It's a mix of specific and also open enough to include those other things. I think that's a really smart way to put it, Linda. Thank you.
And Linda, I apologize. I find out that I don't write as fast as I type. So can I get that just one more time, please?
Sure. Track and evaluate the efficacy of the interconnect, heat pump rebate, and other energy-related projects and proposals.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Madam Clerk, also just for so by creating this new line item, we're striking evaluate options for a heat pump program from that list.
Right.
Yeah, okay. All right, excellent. And I think that will kind of de facto erase some as we go, but we'll just continue going down the list in order here. So hold another joint work session with the Planning and Zoning Commission about a SMIC overlay. I vote we keep this. We didn't have the chance to do it this year due to COVID, and I'd like another shot at it. Any thoughts or discussion there? Nods in agreement. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely make an effort to the planning. Just so that you guys know, at this point in the discussion, the Planning and Zoning Commission reached out in the fall to talk about them community development communicating better with the boards when there are things that the boards that relate us, and them wanting to have a more open line of communication between planning and zoning and Port and Commerce Advisory Board. So they're really on board with having these joint work sessions. Now that we have the capability of Zoom, and we have, hopefully that means that we'll have less meetings canceled this year, and that we'll be able to get some of this work done. So I think that's really exciting. Next item on the list is work towards developing a climate action plan. I think we're going to continue to do that. We have our Climate Action Planning Committee, and I will just note that we have under our long-term goals an item that says submit a climate action plan to council for adoption, target completion 2021. So my recommendation is that we take that long-term goal and move it to our short-term goals and strike work toward developing a climate action plan from the list and replace it with submit a climate action plan to council for adoption. Other members of the climate committee? Harbor Master Regis. I can't hear you.
Madam Chair, I just got a late text that planning and zoning would like at least have 3 joint work sessions a year with PACAB. I just got that text, so.
Yeah, and again, Jackie has she's reached out and been awesome about saying that the board can. There's a lot of work that we can do together and ways that we can work together. So I think that's really exciting. So Linda and Bruce, other members of the climate committee, are you guys happy with putting that on our short-term goals and making that statement that we're going to submit something in 2021? Everyone feel comfortable? Here you go. But I'm also excited.
Short-term means within the year?
That's the intention. I guess I proposed this structure, and the reason for that was so that it gave us so that our short-term goals are things that we can accomplish within the year of 2021, and our long-term goals are things that we're looking forward to in the future, or that are ongoing, or that need more than 1 year to accomplish.
I mean, we can certainly put it on. I don't know how realistic it is to think that we're going to come up with a plan within the year of 2021.
Yeah, I think it's ambitious.
Yeah, I do.
I would also say that this is putting it on here. We're not saying that it will be done within 2021. So if it happens to bleed over into next year's, we have other things on our list that have, gone more than a year. So I think that it would not be held against us. It's just more a goal. Board Member Smith.
By moving it to the short-term goals, can we just strike the 2021?
Yes, yeah. So and Madam Clerk, as a note, anything we move from the long-term goals list, if we can just strike the target completion date from that, that's just for the long-term goals, so that we can keep track of when we want to move those to the forefront.
And this is discussing the long-term goal for submitting a climate action plan to council for adoption, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that going to replace or be added to working towards developing a plan?
It would replace.
Replace it, okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So last item on this page, discuss and review January 2020 City Council work session with the electric department. I think we can safely strike that. First item on the next page, and MIS, would you mind moving your screen down to the top of page 2?
He's working on it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Have you done that? 'Cause it's not shared.
So the first item here is determine action needed to address halibut bycatch and provide recommendation to council.
Keep going up.
And I so wish that Carl was here for this discussion. He apologizes, by the way,
It's like cutting
he had
off the top
some
of the page for some
equipment difficulties and had to take his equipment to Anchorage today. That's why he's not able to join us.
It's
But
cutting
where
off
do you
the top
guys
of the
feel
page.
we're at with this? And is there anything additional that
We're
PACAP
trying to review the whole
do?
thing.
Didn't we, I mean, we did this, didn't we, in a way? I mean, it's,
You did.
so,
You can just review that.
I would-
So that's
I would
the
just
page only?
think-
We're on the second page now.
take it off of our goals list, but, be, aware of it, and we can, put that on the agenda at some future point, but I don't think it needs a line item here. This is my personal thoughts on that. Not saying it's not an issue, but I don't think it needs a line item on our goals list.
Right, right. Board Member Paquette?
Well, I'm one of these people that I worry that when we take it off, it disappears and people forget. So what I'm wondering is, rather than leaving it worded the way it is, what if we were to change the wording on it to just say follow up or monitor or track, just so we don't lose it, because we did what this goal says, but we still care about what happens.
Right. Yeah, so Board Member Jaffa.
Excuse me, there's been some current press about other fishing. And I think we are limiting our scope here, because the interest of Seward is the importance of salmon fishing, halibut fishing, rock cod fishing, all of it is tremendously important, and I think we need to weigh in and advise council on changes or potential actions. So rather than delete this item, and I understand what Board Member Smith is just, I agree, we don't want to clog it up with unnecessary stuff, but it should be broader and address all fishing impact.
So, these are all great points, and I'm just kind of trying to work around in my head, again, how to word that so that it can come back to us as a specific action item, and if we want to, maybe this is something we should do yearly, where once a year in the spring or the fall or something we can kind of get into a schedule with it where we're just looking at any issues relating to fisheries, which fisheries includes both sport and commercial, and kind of gives us this broad umbrella to not forget about things and to look at what current issues are. Like, for example, closing the Cook Inlet waters to commercial fishing. Like, that's a big hot topic issue currently. So I think that's what you're saying, Bruce, right? Would let's see, like review issues related to sewered fisheries, or are people going to think that means like a specific company? We could say sewered commercial and sport fisheries, or Board Member Smith, did you have an idea?
Yeah, I like that. Review impacts to sport and commercial. Well, you'd have to throw subsistence in there too, right? But
Right.
yeah, all of the local fisheries. So that's subsistence, personal use, sport, and commercial fisheries. So it's something like that. Review emergent issues or current issues impacting said fisheries and provide recommendations to council.
Yeah, I really like that, and I have a suggestion. If we can say local, I like the word you use, local, rather than saying sewered fisheries. It sounds less like a business and more like all of the local fisheries and includes all of those things. Harbor Master Regis.
Madam Chair, so the Cook Inlet, it affects Seward, it affects OBI Seafoods. So we're still addressing that. We have actually a meeting next week about it. But I would suggest that you continue to monitor and address fisheries issues as as they come up or something to that effect.
Yeah. Review and address. If anyone wants to like put out something that brings that all together, I'm trying to wordsmith things here. Review and address issues impacting local fisheries, which impact review and address issues which impact local fisheries. I'm not happy with that, but
Jaffa and Paquette had their hands up.
How about monitor, review, and address local fisheries and emergent changes?
Okay. I'd like to keep it to two words instead of getting lots of ands in there. Maybe monitor and review, or monitor and review, because we can't always address things, but we can review and provide recommendations. So maybe monitor and review. Board Member Jaffa, I hear you had your hand up. I missed it. I'm looking at my paper.
Well, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I did. And I understand the local fisheries is a nice little catchword, but I think you need to maybe include local fisheries, but it should say specifically halibut, salmon, and other commercial fish species. But halibut and salmon are big industry. Although the six-pack guys, I know I said rock cod, but I meant rockfish and cod, so sort of an acronym. But I think you do need to keep the word halibut or salmon in the title. and this is, I think, going to be a big topic. And I think Harbor Master Regis is correct. I mean, and it's not just a matter of our fishery or sewer fish or our boats that go over there, but you know, when you push on something in one place, some other place is impacted. So the Cook Inlet pressure is going to push boats into Prince William Sound and into Resurrection Bay and all those places along the coast where our fleet, our local fleet, is fishing. So I think we need to pay attention to it seriously.
Madam Clerk, and then Board Member Lawrence. But did you have something?
I was just wondering if I can propose. I mean, I'm
Yeah, so
picking
we're
up what
set.
everybody's, I'm picking up tidbits from what everybody's saying, so I think I might have a recommendation, but I don't have a clue if I'm able to do that.
It's a work session. I welcome it.
So, from what I'm gathering is you're all interested in being able to give recommendations to council when there's an issue. And so, I might recommend to provide recommendations to city council when, when issues may arise with fisheries impacting our community. Because
Okay.
community would involve everyone, not just people fishing, but businesses also. So that would encompass the fisheries across the bay doing Cook Inlet stuff.
Laura,
Yes.
how's this? Monitor and review halibut, salmon, and other multi-species fisheries challenges, concerns, and emergent changes impacting our community.
These are all good ideas. Board Member Lawrence, you had your hand up. I'd love to hear your input.
I think what Bruce mentioned is important that we, you know, it's important the local community is important, but statewide, you know, Alaska fisheries is really important because like Bruce said, what happens in the Cook Inlet affects Prince William Sound, affects Southeast, might affect the Bering Sea, you know, so, and maybe we don't get all of those vessels coming here, but we do get a lot, and so I think it's important for us to keep an eye on what's happening around the state as well. And I don't know how I don't know if we just say Alaska fisheries instead of local fishing or local fisheries or something like that. Maybe that's too broad, but I think it's of value to know that we need to keep an eye on what's happening around the state.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I feel like we're starting to pull some things together, and I'd like to just point out a difference and get your thoughts on this. So what the clerk is recommending is a line item which would basically be, as things come up, that we could provide recommendations to City Council on them, which we always do have the purview to do, but this specifically states that is one of our goals. Alternatively, like the way that we were wording it in the beginning, it's a line item which would come up on our agenda regardless, as kind of a reminder that we're looking at these things as a discussion item. And I do think that is an important distinction. Both of them allow us to do things as needed, but one of them says it's kind of only on an as needed basis, and the other one is a discussion item that we kind of keep every year. Board Member Paquette.
What if the beginning of it were to read, to keep council appraised of halibut, salmon, and other multi-species fisheries challenges, concerns, and emergent changes impacting our community?
I like that.
Yeah, I think that gets everything. I think, can you repeat? So it gets a little bit listy in the middle after halibut, salmon, and other multi-species. And then what were can you read that off? I'd like to write that down.
Sure.
Issues.
To keep council appraised of halibut, salmon, and other multi-species fisheries, challenges, concerns, and emergent changes impacting our community.
Can we make challenges, concerns, and emergent impacts issues? Can we just say issues to kind of?
Sure. Yeah, there's too many C words.
There's just a lot. There's a lot of lists in it, and I just want to make it. I'd like it to be impactful. Okay, I have a small tweak to that to kind of combine everything. Monitor and provide recommendations to council on halibut, salmon, and other multi-species fishery, or however you said that, fisheries issues which impact the community. So just changing the beginning, instead of keeping council appraised, to just monitor and provide recommendations to council. So we're watching it, and we're also, when things come up, providing specific recommendations. Harbor Master Regis.
Madam Chair, so, excuse me, one thing that we need to keep appraised, aware of is we don't want to alienate ourselves from one fishing to another fishing. We're trying to remain neutral because you want to, as the harbor masters, we've been doing that around the state. We don't get involved between certain fisheries, but the one against Cook Inlet, that was against the state shutting things down, so we all jumped on board. But we don't want to go against seiners and longliners. Just to give you that information, because then we're going to alienate one of our user groups.
Yeah, and even potentially the order in which you list things makes things sound more important than others. Which to some people, salmon is the most important. To some people, it's halibut, and to some, it's other species. So, Bruce, this was your suggestion. I understand your desire for specificity, but would you feel comfortable if we just said state fisheries, like, or local fisheries, or something?
All fisheries
like that, of all fisheries issues. Yeah, Board Member Jaffa.
I think we're getting hung up on the minutia here. I think we all agree that we started with paying attention to halibut bycatch, and that's still an issue. What's added to it now is a broader spectrum of salmon that's clearly in the news today, and probably the next thing, whatever that is. So just adding a word or two and leaving that line item the way it is, it'll get us an agenda item for future discussion. We're not going to solve it all by putting a bunch of words in there describing everything we're going to do, because we'll never get it all.
Board Member Paquette.
How about monitor and provide to council recommendations regarding all fisheries issues impacting our community?
I like that. That was, and Bruce, I hear your point on the minutia, and I feel that. I do think words are important, and I think that it's good for us to spend some time here, but I agree that we probably need to move on to the next line item. I really like what Linda just said. I think it brings together a lot of the things we talked about. Does anyone have any changes to that, or are we happy with where that stands? Bruce, thank you for the thumbs up. Board Member Smith?
Can I just recommend that we let that soak, no pun intended, and maybe some private correspondence, and then bring that back up in its proper form at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the clerk is going to mention that we can't have private correspondence about this.
Is it not a?
You have
I thought
to be
we weren't
careful
voting.
with private correspondence.
Right.
It can't be more than 3 people.
Right,
So
yeah.
you can't talk to one
Yeah.
person and then have
Yeah.
them say, talk to the fourth
That's why I didn't
person.
say.
That's a violation.
But Bruce and the chair and you could have a discussion, the interested parties outside of the committee, I think, just to get it perfected.
Business
We agree
owners,
that it's
whatnot.
going to be on the list, but the exact wording, and it'll be voted on. That's my suggestion. I think we do need to move on.
I think that's a fantastic suggestion. So what I would like to do is just make sure that the clerk has it as Board Member Paquette. I see you nodding. Okay, you have
I
it as
believe
she.
so, to monitor, provide recommendations to council regarding all fisheries issues impacting our community. Does that sound right,
I
Paquette?
think that's it. That's good. And again, this will come out in our packet and will be up for discussion, and we can make amendments at the next meeting. So, I love that everyone cares about all of this stuff so much. I think that that's wonderful. So the next issue, Board Member Jaffa, I'm going to throw this to you on how you would like us to, what would you like us to do with this next item? Support the work of the airport committee.
I would delete it. I think it's water over the dam. We're not going to be able to go back and refight that. Our opportunity's gone. It's going to be what it's going to be.
Okay. Thank you for all of the work that you put into that.
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating, and I can tell you that if everybody who had been in there for Seward had been a real advocate, it might have come out a little different. But we had some lackluster activity at the chair.
Yeah.
Not by our current acting mayor, manager, or our mayor, but let that go.
Okay. So your recommendation is to strike that, and again, thank you for all the work you put in. That's it's a frustrating conclusion, and I don't think it's our last chance to advocate for the airport. But I think as opportunities arise, hopefully we'll get that opportunity again. The next item, we accomplished this, and I think we can safely cross it off, creating ad hoc committees for SMIC development and energy. The next item, send a board member to the Alaska Municipal League Conference. I think that has been extremely valuable, and I would like to see that stay. Seeing nods of agreement. Okay, if anyone has anything to say, please feel free to speak up. I'm going to look for hands. Prioritize city, state, and federal priorities. We do that yearly, so I think we should have that one stay. Evaluate city utility infrastructure for future growth. This is something we were not able to get to this year due to meetings being canceled. I think that since we have not addressed it, it should stay on here. Question being, is everyone happy with it as it stands? Board Member Smith.
I think that we could maybe expand that a little bit, future growth, stability, and maybe add environmental impact. I know there's been some concern, but I think it should stay, yes.
So your suggestion would be for it to read, evaluate city infrastructure for future growth as it relates to, and then have maybe a list of like environmental impacts and things like that. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, it's not very specific. This sounds like a capacity thing, but we can have capacity with improper or maybe not as well thought out design implications there. So I would like to I'd like to keep that on the list, but also make sure that while supporting future growth, we are also doing it responsibly.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I think that this is a great time since the rate study just came out. That has a lot in there about that was evaluated capacity and entities and how much we need in the budget for supporting our systems moving forward. So I think it's a great time with all that data to evaluate those things through that lens. So do you have a specific, I'm trying to think how to word this to include those ideas. I understand what you're saying, that the way it's worded now, it seems like we're only looking at the impacts of the growth of the community, whereas you'd like to evaluate the city infrastructure both for growth, but also the impact as it stands, and not limit ourselves to.
it's kind of like the best, your lowest bid versus best value discussion, I think. So could I maybe defer that to Board Member Paquette if you had any comments on this one?
I think she is muted.
Oh, she is muted,
to take
okay.
a phone
Yeah, I
call.
think that we had a discussion
it.
as the Energy Subcommittee relating to this, so I would like to hear her ideas too.
Okay.
So we can maybe come back to that.
Yep, we definitely can. I think she's holding up a finger. She,
I think you're still muted.
Um,
Go ahead, Linda.
yeah.
Still muted.
Okay,
We can come back.
We'll come back to that item. Yeah. So let's just go to the next item real quick. Participate in
Wait. Okay, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to transition off the computer onto the phone.
Oh,
So I'm
yeah.
on the phone and you can't hear me?
we can hear you now.
No, that's because she turned off her computer.
We cannot hear you now that you're muted.
I'm not sure how she's calling in.
So Linda, please don't worry. You get your audio figured out. We have a couple of easy items below this. We'll come back to this when you're with us. Participate in joint work session with Historic Preservation Committee on Downtown Historic Overlay District. This is again something we weren't able to get to because of COVID and the lack of the board's meeting. So that's still something that that we can look forward to. The next item, review the SMIC development plan. Now, I have been saying, because in my head, we were supposed to update the SMIC development plan this upcoming year, but I am incorrect, and so I'm glad we have our list of priorities to remind me. That's not until 2022. So we will once more review the SMIC development plan in 2021, and then it will actually get revised, updated, and sent to council in 2022. So that line item can stay. Evaluate the Blue Pipeline Initiative and give recommendation to council on the city's continued investment. The chamber had some input on this. We were supposed to have a work session on this, and the chamber asked for more time because this program is in flux. I think that we need to keep this on here for this year because this is a budget year, and this is the year that technically these funds would be required to be reallocated for follow-on years. I won't get too far into the weeds. They might not actually require anything for the first 2 years because they're not taking funds from the city in these years that it's not operating. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work out, but I do think that the funds, that the original resolution coming from City Council was allocating the funds for those specific years. So Council would have to allocate funds out of the upcoming budgets if Blue Pipeline requested it. So all that to say, I think it's important to keep that on there. Harbor Master Regis.
Madam Chair, so I believe it's Justin sent me a letter. The city wrote a letter and sent it to them. They were looking on trying to continue their funding, so we sent a letter recommending they continue it. I don't know where it's at with them, but like you said, you should leave it on there just in case. But we did send a letter of support for that, so just want to let you know that. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I think that I think it's in everyone's best interest that we get a report, maybe not from the chamber, but directly from Bering Sea Fishermen's Association, who is the, yeah, Madam Clerk.
I was just going to let Linda know that IT is heading out to you to help you transition to your phone.
Yeah. Thank you for that. BSFA is kind of the main contributor, and I would like to hear directly from the organization. So I think that when this comes up on the agenda, I'd like to have someone on the phone, probably their executive director talking about what their plans are and how things are moving forward. I don't think it's fair to put that onto the Chamber's executive director. While he brings us good information, I would like to hear directly from them on how those funds have been spent so far and what their plans are for the program moving forward. So I'm really good at long answers to short questions, so sorry about that. But my vote is to leave it on. And the last item on the short-term goals list is providing input on the capital improvement plan, which we did this year, but again is a yearly, kind of a yearly task for us. So I would recommend leaving that as is. So that's the end of the list. And Linda, if you can hear me, don't worry, I'm not going to move on. There's still plenty of time. But I would like to just open it up at this point for any ideas, anything that anyone wants to add that's not on there. What are we missing? Board Member Smith.
So a follow-up with the work that we've done with the city, with Corey there on the net meterings. I would like to add a short-term goal that reads, support and work with the City of Seward Utility and residents to develop a pre-approved net metering plan and agreement. I'd really like to see that happen. They'll cement the process, and I think a lot of work's already been done on that, but I'd like that to be a hard follow-up.
Yep. Can you read that back slowly for the clerk?
Yes. Support and work with the City of Seward Utility and its residents to develop a pre-approved, this is where it's either going to be a photovoltaic design or a grid tie. How about that? A pre-approved grid tie design and net meter agreement. This would align us with Homer Electric, sort of.
So, Board Member Smith, just so that I can make sure I understand, so when we gave the electric department kind of that list of, goals for what you're talking about here is kind of the not pre-made systems, not like with brands of material, but like saying if you do your system this way with these components, this is what we will approve. Kind of having a pre-engineered plan.
Yes, yeah.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing I would say is the way you worded it, you said support and work with the Seward Electric Utility and its residents, which could sound like residents of the utility.
Customers.
Customers.
And its customers. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that, and I think that's a really good specific goal to have that's very in line with the work that we've done this year.
So if I could just confirm, support and work with the city utilities and its customers to develop a pre-approved grid tie design and net meter agreement? Did I get that right?
It would be designs, plural. There's a couple different ways this can be done. So.
Okay.
And if there's any changes, I'd ask Corey to make comment on that before we vote on that.
Yeah.
I think we might have Linda in.
We're getting there. She can hear you. We can't hear her.
Okay, we're working on being able to hear her still. So okay.
Okay. Don't worry, Linda. We're still coming back to you. I promise. One thing I'm noticing is under long-term goals, we have a couple of these goals which have a target completion of 2021. So those items should probably get moved up to our short-term goals. The first one being review the harbor tariff, which happens every budget cycle. So we can move review the harbor tariff up to short-term goals, deleting the wording target completion 2021. And then update the Seward Boat Harbor Plan. We can also move that up, which will be a large undertaking. It's been a very long time since that plan was reviewed, but hopefully that's some work that we can do within our Smith and Harbor subcommittee.
Madam Chair, Linda, are you able to talk to us now?
I don't know, am I?
There she goes. We're
Can you
good.
hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I had to do, just so everybody knows, I had to do the *6, even though my phone was not muted. I still had to put the *6 in, and that now you can hear me, but before that you couldn't. So that's a little confusing, but okay, good. I'm transitioned. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So now that you are back with us, I'd like to go back to the line item, evaluate city utility infrastructure for future growth, and get your thoughts on the wording of that item and how you would like to see it moving forward.
Has anybody suggested that we make it any more powerful, or are people happy with it the way it is?
Board Member Smith made the suggestion to not limit it to evaluating it for future growth, but for sustainability. He said that you had some comments on it in an energy committee meeting and just wanted to get your specific input there on how we could maybe reword it to be more broad.
I liked what Board Member Smith did. He sent notes back to the Energy Committee, and I'm in favor of the wording that he had.
So I could read that directly. I didn't want to get too specific there. Board Member Paquette, would you like me to read that line item directly?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, so from our energy subcommittee discussion, so the evaluate utility infrastructure, our thoughts on that are we have the electric, which is kind of its own animal there, and then we have the water and wastewater. And in order to support future growth, those two are critical there, and we've seen that already at SMIC, where we have to continually make sure is a system capable of supporting our growth. So the line item would read, discuss water and wastewater infrastructure and its ability to support economic growth, stability, and environmental impacts.
Yeah, I like that, because really we were kind of tiptoeing around it, but really this discussion item, we talk about the electric utility a lot. This was specifically a water and wastewater, and so I think this is a good way to get more specific. Can you please read that back slowly for the clerk?
Slowly, yes. Discuss water and wastewater infrastructure and its ability to support economic growth, stability, and evaluate environmental impacts.
Okay, so if I've got that right, that was started with discuss and evaluate?
Discuss water and wastewater infrastructure.
Discuss water and wastewater infrastructure and its ability to, I missed that next one before growth.
So support economic growth.
Support economic growth and evaluate environmental impacts.
Stability, I had stability in there. I guess we could probably scratch that. Economic growth and evaluate environmental impacts, or there's probably a better word we could have there. We don't want to be the evaluator, assess, or that's too specific.
What about just adding, you have the two line items before, and just adding and sustainability at the end. I didn't write this down, but you had said the word sustainability before, kind of towards the end there where you're kind of listing what we're evaluating it for, or
I don't want to get too specific, but if a problem is foreseeable, or it's something that we're already experiencing, it'd be nice if we had a line item there that that would bring that up in a meeting, right? So if there's something going on that we can give advice on, so. Just environmental impacts, I think, is more broad. This, when you start getting into sustainability, that's more towards the climate action plan. So I think the idea was this is kind of like what's the here and now problems, and if we're going to be say today just hypothetically we're going to replace a whole bunch of stuff, but we're going to do it for our current city size. I feel like there should be something in there that prompts us to then respond with it. So yeah, it's a tough one. I don't want to make it too broad or too specific, but
well, let's leave it as you wrote it. Let's leave it as written. And again, we have we'll have at least a week with these packets after this meeting. A week before our next meeting with packets to look things over.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just to clarify, you had discussed water and wastewater infrastructure and its ability to support economic growth and evaluate environmental impacts?
That sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, I got one.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay. So
I think
that brings us to the end of our short-term goals, and we have moved most of our long-term goals onto our short-term goals list. The only remaining item on the long-term goals then would be to update the SNCC development plan. And I'm wondering if maybe not now, because we're 2:15 and everyone has given so much of their day to these efforts already. If we can maybe think about any of the things that are on our short-term goals that we think are attainable for this year, or that is maybe that we don't think we have the time to get to, or maybe don't need to address this year and could delay a year, or maybe not. But maybe we can look at those, and then when we come back, we can move some things to long-term goals, and we can do some rearranging if we want to. But for now, is there anything that anyone wants to add to the long-term goals, or anything that any changes that you want to make at this time? Yeah, Board Member Smith.
Sorry, I did my homework, but I would really like to see, I don't know how far we can go with this, but I have mentioned it at a couple meetings in the past. So encourage the city to install demonstration systems highlighting renewable and alternative energy sources and methods of heating. Like I really think that having the city step forward is kind of like a win-win-win for everybody, and if that could be a long-term goal, that might be more than we want to debate at the moment, but.
No, I like that. I think we should put it on there. I think we should put it on there, and if anyone does want to have debate on it, we'll have the chance to vote on it. But you have brought that up before, and I think that again, it's a budget year, so if we put it on long-term goals, that means that we're saying we're not going to address it in this next year. So I just want to make sure that you're okay with that. Because we have so much on the list.
Well, it says target completion. So say they agreed to install solar panels on a building or something, right? It would take probably a year to get the plans and the finances and put it out for bid and everything. So I mean, it would be a long-term goal for completion, but wouldn't that still be something that we would start on more immediately?
Yeah, no, I hear you. And that could be something that we could talk about when we're talking about all of the other, you know, when we have the electric department in the room and we're talking about other things, we can definitely put that as an agenda item. It does, again, this list is a guiding document.
Right.
It does not limit us. But I do understand you're saying that our goal is to have those systems installed. What would you like to see the target completion date be there?
It would be like first system by 2022, maybe.
Okay. Alrighty, I like that. Any other long-term goals?
Colby's got his hand up.
Lauren?
I'm sorry, I might have something back in the short term. I guess I'm not really sure where it might go, but you know, there was something at the council meeting the other day. There was kind of a presentation by the Coast Guard, and something they talked about very sternly, I think, is owning property across the bay in the SMIC yard as opposed to leasing. And I know that maybe that goes with the, can't see it on that page, but working on the SMIC overlay or reviewing the SMIC development plan. You know, maybe that goes in hand with those, but I think that you know, the city has not wanted to sell that land over there, and they've wanted to lease, as many of us are aware. And if we want the Coast Guard here, it seems that maybe the city's going to need to change their mind, and I think that maybe PACAP could help with that decision and maybe, you know, make some recommendations to the council. And I think that maybe that could be it has to be a short-term goal, or we're not going to get the Coast Guard here. So I know I'm going backwards, but it just popped into my mind as I was thinking of things, and I see Norm waving his hand. So,
Yeah, Norm, what are your thoughts here?
So the council got, the Coast Guard was, got direction from council. We're either going to lease it for 99 years or sell it to them. So that either one's going to work. But there's also the probability that we're going to be switching properties with the Coast Guard. So that currently what they own on this side of the bay, the city would take over that property and the building and everything in lieu of that leased property over there. And if the Coast Guard ever leaves, it does revert back to the city. It's in the contract for the Coast Guard. So you could put it on there because I know they looked at, councils looked at possibly selling land where the old Air Force Rec Camp used to be and things like that. So, and I know they did sell land across the bay once, a long time ago. But it's definitely going to be, it's going to happen, either leasing it or selling it or trading the land. So I understand board member Lawrence's concern, but just to let you know on the Coast Guard, we are definitely moving forward. They're coming. So
that's great.
Board member Smith?
So not to add too much more here, but what Colby said there reminded me of our last meeting with the fire chief, where we brought up the so we could maybe lump in any of the impediments for SMIC or Coast Guard expansion over there. But that's one thing that's not on this list is evaluating the public safety infrastructure on the other side of the bay.
Yeah. Norm?
So, Madam Chair, so just to let you know, I have the surveyor currently working on the Coast Guard lease area and also the infrastructure for the fire department. They're going to have that whole corner there where their Little Red Training Center is, and probably fence it all in and put in the satellite fire station at that location. So I know a lot of things happen back, and I just letting you guys know what's going on.
Yeah. So this is such great input, and I think if I can take Colby and Ben, your two ideas, and maybe bring them together, I think that you're right that we're missing something here, that we review the SMIC development plan every year, but we're not really giving ourselves the goal of, like, moving forward with any of those things that we talk about. And so the Coast Guard is coming, and maybe the land issue has been resolved, but there are going to be other things about the Coast Guard being out at SMIC that are pressing issues. And so maybe we can put a line item in there that is, while we're not updating the SMIC development plan, we're already reviewing it, but something about like having a meeting or a work session where we're actually talking about like the short-term goals for SMIC and like what we're doing in the short term to grow things there. The utility infrastructure and the Coast Guard and the public safety pieces. Do you guys think, would that be valuable? Does the board want to have a work session that's specifically talking about that and not just in relation to updating the plan, but actually talking about doing things there? Yeah, Colby.
I think that's a great idea. I think also, we formed a committee that hasn't really, maybe it's because I've been gone and out of the loop, but I don't feel like we've had any meetings. I missed them. But I think that it would be great to get that committee focused on something like this, because you're right, it is, if there's Coast Guard over there, there's going to need to be more things. Food, convenience stores, it's going to boom over there, and I think that we need to be ready for it. And I know reviewing, we reviewed the plan like you said, but beyond that, there's not a lot of stuff we're doing, and I think that we could really take some action and start to try and be proactive as opposed to reactive with everything over there. So I'd be 100% for work sessions about it, or even the ad hoc committee that we formed getting together and bringing something to a work session.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And some of these, these items in our short-term goals can be accomplished in the committees. I mean, the Energy Committee did so much this past year. And I think that, yeah, our SMIC committee didn't even meet once. I think the summer, the pandemic and the summer, and then some just vacations this fall that coincided where you were both gone for a couple months. But maybe we can work with, I think if we work with planning and zoning and we get that SMIC overlay work session early in the year, and then use that as a jumping off point for our committee to meet and talk about some specific things, and then we can have agenda items to bring those recommendations to any specific recommendations to the board or updates to the board on progress at SMIC. So I think it's a good idea to add a short-term item to evaluate, or does anyone have ideas on how to word that? To evaluate current projects at SMIC. Board Member Smith.
We could align it similar to how we're wording what we're doing with the utility, track progress and make recommendations.
Yeah. Yeah. So track progress and make recommendations on the continuing development of the Sewer Marine Industrial Center. We can say SMIC because I think we put SMIC in we already use that acronym in other places. Recommendations. So track progress and make recommendations related to the ongoing development of SMIC.
I like it.
Like it? Madam Clerk, is that perfect? Okay, that was great input. I think it's really important. There's some really good energy in the community right now for SMIC. I think that people are kind of antsy to see what's next because so much has happened there. So I think this is a good year to make progress there. Excellent. Any other short, long-term goals? Last, final thoughts? Things you want to make sure we get on here before we bring it as a resolution next meeting? And again, this is not the last chance. We can make amendments at the next meeting if you think of things in the meantime. This has been super productive and helpful discussion. I thank you all for all of your time today. This has been a much longer meeting than we've had in a long time, and I thank you for sticking with it. I appreciate
Laura?
that. Yes.
So I wonder, I don't think we have time to discuss it right now, but it occurs to me that given, I mentioned this to Jason at the chamber a while ago, given this whole issue of pandemic, looking to have more venues that are usable under the circumstances. So places that maybe have roofs outdoors but not walls, covered areas where people can gather. And this is like real long term, right? But it's just something I'm thinking we might want to add. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't remember if you were there, if it was at the meeting, but I had this discussion recently in relation to the harbor building's current location. And when we're doing the harbor plan, if the harbor building moves to the upland, that area becoming kind of like covered park area where there's more room for those people waiting for buses to gather, and it's a covered area for people to be that could also be used for events year-round. So I think that could potentially go into our updating the boat harbor plan, because, we, as PACAB, we have limited purview over, it's kind of really only related to city structures, whereas we could make the encouraging private industry. And I think definitely looking at the railroad terminal and kind of what they do there, and if they have an outdoor space. But what's your recommendation? Are you making a specific recommendation, or do you? How would you like to leave that?
If I were to make a recommendation right now, it would be something fairly simple on the long term, like, evaluate potential open air spaces for the community, for visitors in the community or something. But I'm thinking if we just think about it and come back when we're going to turn this into a resolution, we could maybe have it fleshed out a little better by then. I don't know, it's up to you. It's like when you start thinking about long term and you look at, okay, we've taken everything that was on long term and it's off the list now, so broadening our scope in terms of what we're thinking about.
Yeah, so as a placeholder, promote open air venues for public gatherings.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's just put that under long-term goals for now, and then we can have more discussion about that when it comes back as a resolution on how.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anything or anyone else has anything? You guys are great. Thank you again. Our next meeting, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, however you're celebrating this month and into the next. I cannot believe that it's the middle of December. I don't know where this year or this month has gone. Time is flying. Our next meeting is January 6th at noon, and I guess it's most likely going to be on Zoom as well. I think that this has been a great test of that system, and we've pushed through some technical difficulties. Thank you so much to MIS and to the clerk for making this happen and for helping us through the issues. Thank you to the harbor master and to our assistant city manager for sticking with us through this meeting as well. I know you both have busy schedules, and to all of you board members, again, cannot thank you enough for your time. However you're celebrating, happy holidays, and we'll see you soon. Madam Clerk?
Just a reminder to get me those agenda items or any reports that anyone's reporting on to me ahead of time. End of December is better than the day before the meeting. So just plan on the Tuesday before will be the deadline, and I'll send out an email reminding everybody about that.
Perfect. Any parting thoughts? Board Member Jaffa?
No, goodbye.
You're saying bye? Okay. Bye.
Hi, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry
Thank you,
Christmas.
Karen.
Thank you.
So work session adjourned at 2:33.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.